Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, part 2 of the ridiculousness of this Charlene Dodge. I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper. So, I prepared a little script. This is her tirade. Well, so, number one, just because someone is indicted doesn't mean they're guilty. It means charges were brought, guilt is determined by conviction, not association. Perfect example of this is Donald Trump, who was impeached twice, as she says. But what she does not say is he was acquitted both times. No conviction followed. Using an indictment alone as proof of wrongdoing ignores the fundamental principle of innocent until proven guilty. She goes on to talk about J6, chaotic, unlawful. Sure, okay. Serious? Of course. Nobody denies. But calling it a coordinated insurrection and stating that Donald Trump did this and did that and prepared them to do this and that. I have the transcript, and if anybody wants, I can post it here, and I'll read the damn thing even. I don't care. But the events at J6, calling it insurrection and people were killed, defending the Capitol, oversimplifies what actually happened. All right? This Brian Sicknick tragically did die. But the following day, from natural causes, it wasn't the J6ers, as previously indicated. Look it up on the company website of who his employer was. Clearly stated. Because liberal media assumed that he was killed and murdered, actually. Well, that's not the case. Poor Brian died the next day from natural causes. Serious events deserve serious discussion, not emotionally charged narratives. And that's what you get when you tune into ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, MSNBC, and the soft-spoken words of NPR over the radio. They always want to twist the language and make it seem like it's, whatever they tell you, believe the opposite. And don't believe in someone else's narrative and make it your own. Do your own research. She goes on to talk about the billions of tax dollars that were funneled directly into Donald Trump's personal account. It's not true either. It just isn't. It just isn't. There's no confirmed evidence that Donald Trump or his family received billions directly. It's Donald Trump. If you did your research, again, on the Trump family, you would know that his and their path to riches began long ago by his grandfather. He has also, Donald Trump, twice declined the presidential salary. Clearly, he doesn't need the money. So therefore, he was not and is not taking a taxpayer paycheck. Big claims without evidence don't strengthen an argument, they weaken it. Accusations like stealing from Americans or bragging about wars are serious and require documented proof. There is no legal finding that Donald Trump committed war crimes either. It's just total lunacy. Disagree with his policy all you want, but turning disagreement into criminal accusation without evidence crosses the line from opinion into fiction. She's blending accusation with assumption. Donald Trump was found civilly liable, not criminally convicted. That distinction matters. Then she pivots to Jeffrey Epstein, as if proximity equals guilt. It doesn't. That's not evidence. It's emotional association. And what that is also, emotional damage. Okay? The string of accusations, not a structured argument. Donald Trump has publicly denounced the KKK and the white supremacists multiple times. Whether people accept that is an opinion, not absence. Claims about destroying the economy or wanting groups eliminated are interpretations, not established facts. It's just beyond ridiculous. Okay? Strong arguments rely on evidence and specificity, not throwing anything at the wall and calling the truth. There you go. These people are deranged. Everything in TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, is very, very, very real. In fact, you know, when you watch the national news, if you so dare watch the national news, believe the opposite. Everything that they tell you, believe 180. You know, they always tell us, it's like they want him to fail. They want America to fail. So much, though, that they're talking about Iran. Yes, Iran. And, oh, well, Donald Trump better watch out. You know, they're going to close that Strait of Hormuz. Is that equal to Kamala Harris taking a blue wall? I don't think so. Neither of those two things are going to actually happen. Kamala Harris did not capture the blue wall, even though Martha Raddatz on ABC News and everybody else on alternative networks like NBC, CBS, PBS, MSNBC, CNN, were all people like Donna Brazile. Oh, yeah, well, they'll come through and, And it soon became apparent that, you know what? Like sand through the hourglass, their chances were slipping away. And Donald Trump captured the election in 2025. Captured the popular vote, dominated the Electoral College to 270. And, it's just, A lot of things were in all our minds. People who think like me, fellow conservatives, thank you for watching. But a lot of things were in our minds in 2016 and even in 2025 when we were hoping that Donald Trump would be the next president, because the previous 4 years were kind of difficult. Walking one way down a supermarket aisle and making also tough choices while in that supermarket as well. For some of us, anyway. So it was just a very tough time and very difficult and embarrassing and disappointing, and watching this guy talk and shuffle his feet and mumble. And then we were told, oh, well, you're picking on the guy. He doesn't do that. You're making deep fakes. No, we weren't making deep fakes. Those things were quite real. That was him being him. All right. And, falling upstairs to the Air Force One several times in one trip up the stairs. I think it was 3. I mean, you're just weak, And every president since Clinton or even previous wanted to do something about Iran. It's not the Iranian people that were fighting. Just like it wasn't the Germans. When we were fighting Germany, we were fighting the government. And in this case, Iran, the people who shout death to America, who want most desperately to gather enough nuclear energy to make a bomb, and then to send that via intercontinental missile to devastate us. There's a recent video on YouTube, and perhaps I'll show it to you. It's an actual fantasy video made by the Iranian government, what's left of the Iranian government. And it shows them making a missile and hitting squarely in the chin Lady Liberty. Yes, that's right. Statue of Liberty in New York City. And, it's just fantasy. Just like it was fantasy that they hit the USS Lincoln. That was fantasy too. And they make these deep fake videos and put it out there as, truth, when it's just false. It's as false as fake news. And, just the Democratic Party in general and liberalism, it really sucks. The most recent governor in New Jersey demands that ICE officials remove their mask. You know what that's all about, boys and girls? That's so that these people can be identified in the digital age and be harassed and God knows what, threatened. Good luck with that. You're going to threaten an ICE agent. It's just, and these people, committing, all these protests, which are fine and legal, okay, on the side of the road or on the curb. You don't belong in the middle of the street. You just don't. And we already had 2 deaths, with that Renee Good, who was told to get out of the vehicle, and if she did, well, she would have seen another sunrise. All she had to do was comply, get out of the vehicle. But she did not. So, she will see no more sunrises, unfortunately for her. It's tragic. It really is. And the other deranged fool, who also died, brought a gun to a peaceful protest. And he was still alive and breathing and no problem with him until he kicked out that tail light of that Ford truck. I believe it was a Ford. And then they got out, they had a tussle, he had a gun, and there you go. So many forces of the Democratic Party and liberalism is tearing our nation apart. And Donald Trump and the Trump administration is the Band-Aid. He's healing our country, making it great again. America first. And what is so wrong with America first, by the way? Absolutely nothing. You know, and all these people out there, you know, I'm a conservative, so, you know, when Joe Biden stole the election in 2016, which will come out, like I said, the truth has a funny way of bubbling up to the surface. And then we all got to say, well, you know, people like us, I told you so. You didn't believe me. You know, but it does. The truth does bubble up to the surface. And then, well, excuses are then created. Oh, well, you know, that's because this or that. These people are so violent. They're hateful. The Democratic Party I'm referring to, liberalism, and all of these national networks all have the same philosophy as the Democratic Party. They sleep in the same bed. So, anyway, I just wanted to make part 2. And what I said initially in the first video is pretty much accurate. It's delusional. But I did want to go into a little bit more detail as to what we're talking about here. So, I thank you for watching the other videos. I'll be following the national news. We'll be following CBS, NBC, ABC, all of it. We'll be watching them very closely. And if we see something that is just too hard to swallow, we'll bring it to you. We'll give you our narrative. And do your own research. Don't believe me, and definitely don't believe the national media. Think for yourself. Because so many of these libtards and nutjobs are out there, they're on the edge of the couch, and they're just soaking all this stuff in. They don't understand that what they're being told is programming. They're being told what to believe, and then they walk around all arrogant and confident and think that, oh yeah, Donald Trump's a Nazi, and well, because the TV said so. And the TV is also saying that Iran has a chance. You know, they don't have a snowball chance in hell of doing anything significant to our nation. I sleep rather well at night thinking that, you know what? My government, my military, I don't even worry about it. And again, it's not the Iranian people that we're going after. All right? But these people are violent, and they've always been that way, the Iranian government, killing their own people because they want freedom. So, and democracy. It's kind of sad. Think about it. Anyway, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, think for yourself.